Poison Point. Poison Point is the ability that punishes physical attackers for not wearing hazmat suits. When a Pokemon with Poison Point is hit by a move that makes physical contact, there's a 30% chance the attacker will become poisoned. Pokemon like Roserade and Quillfish are covered in toxic barbs that can inject venom upon contact. It's essentially a passive deterrent against physical attacks, creating a 30% chance that the attacker will suddenly find themselves losing 12.5% of their health each turn. In competitive play, this ability turns otherwise straightforward attacks into risk-reward calculations. Is landing that close combat worth potentially dooming your physical sweeper to a slow, poisonous death? It's like reaching into a drawer without looking, only to get stabbed by the scissors you forgot were in there. Technically, it's your fault, but still incredibly frustrating. Next time, maybe wear gloves before punching the poison frog. Inner Focus. Inner Focus is the ability for Pokemon with nerves of steel. It prevents flinching and grants immunity to Intimidate, ensuring that these Pokemon maintain their Zen-like concentration regardless of what's happening around them. Pokemon like Lucario and Sneasel are so intensely focused that even the most startling attacks or intimidating displays won't break their concentration. In competitive play, this means moves like Fake Out can't disrupt their momentum, and Intimidate users can't reduce their attack stat upon switch-in. It's like that friend who remains perfectly calm during horror movies while everyone else jumps at the scary parts, frustratingly unflappable even in the face of deliberate attempts to throw them off balance. In a meta where Fake Out and Intimidate are commonplace, Inner Focus provides valuable immunity to two of the most frequent disruption techniques. When everyone else is flinching, these Pokemon just raise an eyebrow and keep throwing punches. Magma Armor. Magma Armor is the ability for Pokemon that are literally too hot to freeze. It provides complete immunity to being frozen, preventing that annoying status condition that can completely immobilize Pokemon for multiple turns. Pokemon like Camerupt and Slugma are covered in such intense heat that ice simply melts before it can affect them. Outside of battle, it also helps eggs hatch faster when a Pokemon with this ability is in the party. It's a straightforward ability that doesn't do anything fancy. It just ensures that one particularly annoying status condition will never ruin your day. The egg hatching bonus makes it surprisingly useful for breeders, turning what would otherwise be a niche battle ability into a valuable tool for Pokemon cultivation. It's like having a pocket hand warmer that's actually a sentient volcano. Perhaps overkill for preventing frostbite, but effective nevertheless. The ice type collectively shivers at the very mention of these walking furnaces. Water Veil. Water Veil is the aquatic counterpart to Magma Armor. It provides complete immunity to burns, preventing that annoying status condition that halves physical attack power and causes damage over time. Pokemon like Luminion and Wailmer are surrounded by a protective film of water that immediately extinguishes any flames before they can cause lasting damage. It's a straightforward ability that doesn't do anything elaborate. It just ensures that one particularly troublesome status condition will never hamper your performance. For physical attackers, this immunity is particularly valuable as it prevents the 50% attack reduction that typically comes with burns. It's like having a personal sprinkler system that activates the moment someone lights a match for you. Perhaps it's excessive, but you'll certainly never have to worry about fire damage. Fire types just stare in confusion as their best moves fizzle against what amounts to a walking water balloon. Magnet Pool. Magnet Pool is the ability that turns magnets into prison wardens. When a Pokemon with this ability is in battle, Steel-type Pokemon cannot switch out or flee, becoming trapped in a magnetic field they can't escape. Magnezone and Probopass generate such powerful magnetic forces that Steel opponents become helplessly stuck to them. In competitive play, this creates forced matchups that can decide entire battles, particularly against Steel types that would otherwise switch out when facing a Fire-type move. It's like showing up to a casual basketball game with superglue on your hands. Technically, it's not against the rules, but certainly creating a situation your opponents didn't anticipate and can't escape from. Steel types suddenly realize they've entered a hotel with no exits and a fire-breathing concierge waiting at the front desk. Soundproof. Soundproof is the ability for Pokemon that can't hear you scream. It provides complete immunity to sound-based moves like Boom Burst, Hyper Voice, and Bug Buzz, rendering these powerful attacks completely useless. Pokemon like Exploud and Mr. Mime have such effective auditory protection that even the most deafening attacks don't register to them at all. What makes this ability particularly interesting is how counterintuitive it is for certain Pokemon. Exploud itself is soundproof despite its entire design being built around making noise. It's like a rock concert guitarist wearing industrial-strength earplugs, creating a cacophony while remaining completely unaffected by it. No matter how loudly opponents scream, these Pokemon just smile and mouth "I can't hear you" while continuing their assault. Rain Dish. Rain Dish is the ability that turns rainstorms into health spas. When it's raining, Pokemon with this ability recover 1/16 of their maximum HP at the end of each turn, essentially gaining passive regeneration from the precipitation. Pokemon like Ludicolo and Blastoise use specially adapted bodies to collect and absorb rainwater, turning weather conditions into a healing resource. It's a subtle but effective ability that pairs perfectly with naturally bulky water types, allowing them to outlast opponents through gradual recovery while the rain continues. When combined with leftovers, the passive healing becomes even more significant, creating situations where these Pokemon are regaining 1/8 of their health every turn without using any moves. It's like bringing an umbrella to a water gun fight, but instead of staying dry, each raindrop somehow makes you stronger. A perfect example of turning what should be a mere weather condition into a strategic advantage. While others run for cover when it rains, these Pokemon just grab a mug and enjoy nature's free refills. Sandstream. Sandstream is the ability that turns the battlefield into the Sahara immediately upon entry. Pokemon with this ability summon a sandstorm when they enter battle, creating harsh conditions that damage most Pokemon each turn while providing a special defense boost to rock types. Originally exclusive to Tyranitar, this weather-changing ability makes desert enthusiasts out of everyone on the field whether they like it or not. It's essentially playing Pokemon while someone constantly throws sand in everyone's eyes, except for rock, ground, and steel types who apparently have built-in goggles. In competitive play, it forms the backbone of sand teams that leverage the special defense boost and residual damage to create war of attrition strategies. The Sandstorm also synergizes perfectly with abilities like Sand Veil and Sand Rush, creating team compositions that thrive in conditions that leave others miserable and partially blind. Remember kids, throwing sand isn't just for playground bullies, it's a legitimate competitive strategy when dinosaurs do it. Pressure. Pressure is the ability for Pokemon that believe psychological warfare is just as important as actual attacks. When opponents use moves against a Pokemon with pressure, they expend an extra PP for each attack, essentially running out of moves twice as fast. Legendary Pokemon like Articuno and Darkrai use their imposing presence to make every attack against them feel more draining and costly. It's the ability equivalent of staring someone down so intensely that they get tired just by looking at you. In competitive play, pressure creates resource management problems for opponents, particularly in longer battles where PP conservation becomes crucial. The ability is especially effective against moves with already limited PP, potentially forcing opponents to resort to struggle much sooner than expected. Its resource depletion as a battle strategy not immediately impactful, but potentially game-deciding in the long run. In a battle of attrition, these Pokemon don't outmuscle you. They simply wait until you've exhausted your options and then laugh as you flail with struggle. Thick Fat. Thick Fat is the ability for Pokemon that turn insulation into tactical advantage. It halves the damage taken from fire and ice type moves, providing significant protection against two commonly used offensive types. Pokemon like Snorlax and Walrein have developed such impressive adipose layers that extremely hot or cold attacks simply can't penetrate to cause full damage. It's essentially the evolutionary equivalent of wearing a wetsuit in all conditions, just in case someone tries to freeze or burn you. In competitive play, this ability can completely change type matchups, allowing normally vulnerable Pokemon to switch in on fire and ice attacks with minimal consequences. It's particularly valuable in the current meta, where powerful fire and ice coverage moves are commonplace. The ability says, yes, I'm fat, and no, your flamethrower isn't going to do much about it, turning what might be an insult into a legitimate defensive strategy. These Pokemon laugh at diet culture while casually shrugging off attacks that would melt lesser creatures. Earlybird. Earlybird is the ability for Pokemon that have built-in alarm clocks. It cuts sleep duration in half, ensuring that these Pokemon wake up twice as fast as normal when affected by sleep-inducing moves. Pokemon like Dodrio and Kangaskhan are such light sleepers that even forced slumber becomes a mere catnap. In a game where sleep can remove a Pokemon from play for 2 to 5 turns, cutting that in half can be the difference between victory and defeat. It's like having that one friend who somehow functions perfectly on 4 hours of sleep, while everyone else is a zombie without 8. Annoying in real life for sure, but incredibly valuable in competitive situations. While other Pokemon are counting sheep, these insomniacs are counting the number of KOs they'll rack up after their power nap. Flame Body. Flame Body is the hot-headed cousin of Poison Point. When a Pokemon with Flame Body is hit by a move that makes physical contact, there's a 30% chance the attacker will be burned. Pokemon like Volcarona and Magma run so hot that even touching them can result in serious burns. It's essentially a passive deterrent against physical attacks, creating a 30% chance that the attacker will find their attack stat halved and their health slowly draining each turn. Outside of battle, it also helps eggs hatch faster when a Pokemon with this ability is in the party. In competitive play, the burn chance is particularly devastating to physical attackers who not only take damage over time but also lose half their offensive capability. It's like reaching out to touch what you thought was just a warm surface, only to discover it's actually hot enough to leave a mark. A painful lesson in maintaining personal space, obviously. As the old saying goes, punch fire, get burned, words to live by when facing these walking furnaces. Runaway. Runaway is the ability for Pokemon that believe discretion is the better part of valor. It ensures a 100% chance of escaping from wild battles, preventing those annoying situations where you're trapped fighting a Pokemon you have no interest in battling. Pokemon like Rattata and Ponyta are so fleet of foot that they can outrun basically anything in the wild. In competitive play, this ability is completely useless as it has no effect in trainer battles where escaping isn't an option. It's like having a superpower that only works when it really doesn't matter. It's impressive on paper, but useless in practice. The ability's sole purpose is to make wild encounters less frustrating, which is valuable for casual playthrough, but completely irrelevant in competitive context. It's the Pokemon equivalent of being really good at running away from fights, potentially useful for survival, but not exactly the trait of champions. These speedsters have mastered the martial art of Nope and will demonstrate it at the first opportunity. Keen Eye. Keen Eye is the ability for Pokemon with exceptional vision. It prevents the Pokemon's accuracy from being lowered and allows it to hit opponents regardless of their evasion stat boosts. Pokemon like Skarmory and Staraptor have such sharp eyesight that they can track even the most evasive targets with perfect precision. It's a countermeasure to strategies that rely on moves like Double Team or Minimize, ensuring that these Pokemon will never miss due to statistical evasion shenanigans. In competitive play, this ability is situationally useful, but often overshadowed by more consistently beneficial options. It's like having perfect vision in a world where most people see just fine anyway. Definitely an advantage, but rarely the deciding factor in everyday situations. The real value comes against those specific strategies designed to abuse evasion, where Keen Eye users suddenly become the perfect counter to otherwise frustrating tactics. Hypercutter. Hypercutter is the ability for Pokemon that refuse to have their claws blunted. It prevents other Pokemon from lowering the user's attack stat, creating immunities to moves like Growl or Intimidate. Pokemon like Kingler and Gliscor have such massive powerful pincers that their cutting power remains consistent regardless of psychological intimidation. It's essentially the I know what I've got of abilities, ensuring that your attack power remains exactly as advertised. In competitive play, this provides valuable protection against the ubiquitous Intimidate ability, allowing these Pokemon to switch in without losing offensive momentum. It's like bringing industrial strength scissors to a paper cutting contest. No matter what anyone says, your cutting implements will perform exactly as designed. The ability creates a reliable attack floor that can be crucial in calculating damage outputs in high-level play. Pickup. Pickup is the ability for Pokemon that never met a shiny object they didn't like. After a battle, there's a 10% chance that the Pokemon will find an item ranging from common potions to rare Master Balls. Pokemon like Linoone and Pachirisu have a natural inclination to collect discarded items, turning them into walking treasure hunters. Outside of battle, this ability has made these Pokemon popular party members for thrifty trainers looking to accumulate free items. In competitive play, the ability is once again completely useless, as it has no effect during actual battles. It's like having a roommate who occasionally finds loose change in the couch, not going to win you any battles, but a nice bonus for everyday living. The ability is purely economic in value, transforming otherwise unremarkable Pokemon into passive income generators for resource-conscious players. Truin. Truin is the ability that turns laziness into a legitimate gameplay mechanic. Pokemon with this ability can only attack every other turn, spending the alternating turns loafing around and doing absolutely nothing. Slacking, with its monstrous base stats, is based entirely around this crippling ability, preventing its raw power from completely breaking the game. It's the most intentionally detrimental ability in Pokemon, explicitly designed to hamstring otherwise overpowered Pokemon. In competitive play, this predictable pattern of activity and inactivity makes truant Pokemon easy to play around, as opponents can simply protect or switch on active turns and attack on inactive ones. It's like hiring an employee who's brilliant but only works every other day. The productivity might average out, but the inconsistency makes planning nearly impossible. The ability represents the ultimate trade-off between power and reliability, creating Pokemon that are simultaneously overwhelming and underwhelming. Hustle. Hustle is the ability that says accuracy is overrated anyway. It boosts the Pokemon's attack stat by 50%, but reduces the accuracy of physical moves by 20%, creating a high-risk, high-reward dynamic for physical attackers. Pokemon like Earlybird and Drought hit significantly harder when they connect, but miss more often than their peers. It's essentially the close your eyes and swing harder school of battling, prioritizing raw power over precision. In competitive play, this creates fascinating risk calculations, as the boosted damage must be weighed against the frustration of potential misses. It's like using a sledgehammer instead of a scalpel. When you hit, you really hit, but you're going to miss a lot more often. The ability rewards gamblers who are willing to accept occasional whiffs in exchange for devastating hits, creating a distinct playstyle that's simultaneously powerful and unreliable. Cute Charm. Cute Charm is the ability that weaponizes adorableness. When a Pokemon with Cute Charm is hit by a move that makes physical contact, there's a 30% chance the attacker will become infatuated with it. Pokemon like Clefable and Sylveon are so irresistibly cute that even attacking them might lead to an ill-advised battlefield crush. It's essentially a passive form of emotional manipulation, creating a 50% chance that infatuated Pokemon will be unable to attack on subsequent turns. In competitive play, this ability creates yet another risk factor for physical attackers, adding emotional vulnerability to the list of potential consequences for direct contact. Outside of battle, it also increases the chance of encountering wild Pokemon of the opposite gender, making it useful for breeders. It's like being so attractive that people punch themselves in the face half the time they try to attack you. A dubious defensive strategy, but apparently effective in the Pokemon world. Plus and Minus. Plus and Minus are companion abilities that reward Pokemon for playing well with others. When a Pokemon with Plus or Minus is in battle alongside another Pokemon with either ability, both receive a 50% boost to their special attack stat. Pokemon like Plusle and Minun are designed around this synergy, gaining significant power when paired together. It's essentially the friendship is magic of abilities, creating tangible benefits for teamwork. In competitive double battles, these abilities can create powerful offensive cores, though they require dedicating 2 team slots to the combination. It's like those friends who are perfectly nice individually but become exponentially more annoying when they're together, except in this case the increased energy is channeled into electrical special attacks rather than inside jokes. The abilities reward deliberate team construction with increased offensive output, creating unique double synergies that can surprise unprepared opponents. Forecast. Forecast is the ability that turns cast form into a living weather report. Depending on the current weather conditions, cast form changes its type and appearance. Normal in clear weather, water in rain, fire in harsh sunlight, and ice in hail. It's the ultimate adaptation ability, allowing cast form to literally become one with the environment. The type change grants stab bonuses to corresponding moves, meaning cast form gets a 50% boost to water moves during rain, fire moves during sunshine, and so on. In competitive play, this makes cast form potentially versatile but ultimately underpowered, as it lacks the base stats to take advantage of its chameleon-like properties. It's like having a wardrobe perfectly tailored for every possible weather condition, impressively adaptable but ultimately not very useful if you don't have anywhere important to go. The ability is more of a fascinating gimmick than a viable strategy, creating visually distinct transformations that are more memorable than effective. Sticky Hold. Sticky Hold is the ability for Pokemon with grip that would make rock climbers jealous. It prevents other Pokemon from removing the user's held item through moves like Knock Off or Trick, ensuring that item strategies remain intact regardless of opponent efforts. Pokemon like Muck and Gulpin have such adhesive bodies that items literally cannot be separated from them without their consent. It's protection against item theft, creating immunity to increasingly common item removal tactics. In competitive play, this provides valuable security for Pokemon that rely heavily on their held items, particularly in the face of prevalent knockoff users. It's like supergluing your phone to your hand. It's excessive perhaps, but certainly effective at preventing theft. The ability creates a reliable item permanence that can be crucial for maintaining consistent strategies in the face of disruptive opponents. Shed Skin. Shed Skin is the ability for Pokemon that treat status conditions as temporary inconveniences. At the end of each turn, there's a 33% chance that the Pokemon will cure itself of any status condition by literally shedding its outer layer. Pokemon like Seviper and Silicoon can shake off burns, poison, or paralysis through biological renewal rather than requiring items or moves. It's essentially a built-in Lumberry with a cooldown, providing periodic relief from status effects. In competitive play, this unreliable but powerful ability can turn status-based war of attrition strategies into games of chance, with each turn presenting a new opportunity for a full recovery. It's like having a skin condition that paradoxically gives you better skin every few days. Unpleasant in the moment, but occasionally resulting in complete renewal. The ability rewards patience with potential cleansing, creating unique scenarios where waiting an extra turn might be preferable to immediate switching or item usage. Guts. Guts is the ability for Pokemon that turn pain into power. When afflicted with a status condition, Pokemon with this ability receive a 50% boost to their attack stat, transforming what would normally be debilitating ailments into offensive advantages. Pokemon like Conkeldurr and Ursaring actually become more dangerous when burned, poisoned, or paralyzed, reaching new levels of power through adversity. It's particularly notable that it negates the attack drop from burns, turning the most threatening status condition for physical attackers into a straight boost. In competitive play, this often leads to deliberate self-burning through Flame Orb, creating permanently boosted attackers who don't mind the burn damage. It's like those people who claim to work better under pressure or when they're sick, except in this case, it's demonstrably true rather than a dubious self-assessment. The ability represents triumph through adversity in its purest form, rewarding those who can turn apparent disadvantages into strategic advantages. Marvel Scale. Marvel Scale is Guts' defensive cousin. When afflicted with a status condition, Pokemon with this ability receive a 50% boost to their defense stat, transforming debilitating ailments into defensive advantages. Milotic, the only Pokemon with this ability, becomes significantly bulkier when burned, poisoned, or paralyzed, reaching new levels of physical resilience through adversity. In competitive play, this often leads to deliberate self-burning through Flame Orb or self-poisoning through Toxic Orb, creating a permanently boosted physical wall. It's like getting an adrenaline rush when injured. Your body actually becomes more resilient when it's under duress. The ability rewards strategic status management with increased defensive capability, creating unique scenarios where what would normally be considered misfortune becomes a calculated advantage. Liquid Ooze. Liquid Ooze is the ability equivalent of Be Careful What You Wish For. When a Pokemon with this ability is targeted by HP draining moves like Giga Drain or Leech Life, the attacker takes damage instead of gaining health, turning healing attempts into painful backfires. Pokemon like Tentacruel and Muck contain such toxic fluids that attempting to extract their essence results in a nasty surprise. It's essentially a trap for vampiric strategies, punishing those who attempt to sustain themselves through their opponent's life force. In competitive play, this creates hard counters to certain grass types and other drain-reliant Pokemon who suddenly find their healing moves causing self-damage. It's like trying to drink from what you thought was a water fountain only to discover it's filled with sewage. It's an unpleasant surprise that quickly reverses the expected outcome. The ability is highly specialized, but devastatingly effective in the right matchups, turning healing strategies into self-destructive blunders. Overgrow, Blaze, Torrent, and Swarm. Now, these four abilities function identically for different types, activating when the Pokemon drops below 1/3 of its maximum HP. When triggered, they boost the power of grass, fire, water, or bug type moves respectively by 50%, creating a last stand effect for injured Pokemon. Starter Pokemon typically have the first three, with Overgrow for grass starters, Blaze for fire starters, and Torrent for water starters. It's the ability equivalent of an adrenaline rush during a crisis, providing unexpected power when things look dire. In competitive play, these abilities occasionally allow for surprising comebacks, though their situational nature makes them less consistently useful than always active abilities. They're like action movie heroes who somehow fight better when they're already wounded, defying logic for sure, but creating dramatic moments of unexpected strength. The abilities reward calculated risk-taking, creating scenarios where dropping to low health might be strategically advantageous rather than universally bad. Rockhead. Rockhead is the ability for Pokemon with exceptionally hard craniums or general resilience. It prevents recoil damage from moves like Double Edge, Flare Blitz, or Head Smash, allowing these Pokemon to use high power, high recoil moves without the usual drawbacks. Pokemon like Aggron and Rhydon can slam their rock-solid bodies into opponents without feeling the impact themselves. It's essentially a helmet for Pokemon who specialize in the hit-it-with-your-face school of battling, removing the traditional cost-benefit analysis from recoil moves. In competitive play, this transforms normally risky attacks into reliable power moves, significantly increasing the viability of recoil-heavy movesets. It's like being the one person who can headbutt concrete without getting a concussion. It's a dubious superpower, but surprisingly effective in specific circumstances. The ability creates unique offensive options that would be prohibitively self-destructive for other Pokemon, allowing for sustained high-power attacks that would normally be limited by self-damage. Drought. Drought is the ability that turns the battlefield into Death Valley immediately upon entry. Pokemon with this ability summon harsh sunlight when they enter battle, powering up Fire-type moves by 50%, weakening Water-type moves, and allowing Solar Beam to be used without charging. Originally exclusive to Groudon, this weather-changing ability later spread to Ninetales, creating instant climate change that would make meteorologists question their degrees. It's essentially playing Pokemon with a personal sun lamp, allowing fire types to dominate while water types wonder why they bothered showing up. In competitive play, it forms the backbone of Sun teams that turn fire into an overwhelming tactical advantage while enabling strategies like instant solar beams and growth boosts. The ability creates immediate battlefield control upon entry, fundamentally changing type effectiveness and move properties for both sides. Arena Trap. Arena Trap is the ability that turns the battlefield into the Hotel California. When a Pokemon with this ability is in battle, grounded opponents cannot switch out or flee, becoming trapped until either they or the Arena Trap user are defeated. Diglett and Dugtrio create invisible pitfalls around the battlefield that prevent escape, forcing opponents to fight to the finish. In competitive play, this creates forced matchups that can decide entire battles, as opponents lose the ability to pivot to counters when faced with disadvantageous situations. It's like secretly locking all the exits during a party. Not immediately obvious, but creating significant problems when someone decides they want to leave. The ability was considered so powerful in competitive play that it was eventually banned in many formats, proving that sometimes the most effective strategy isn't about what you can do, but about what you can prevent others from doing. Vital Spirit. Vital Spirit is the ability for Pokemon that have had way too much caffeine. It provides complete immunity to sleep, preventing that annoying status condition that can completely immobilize Pokemon for multiple turns. Pokemon like Electabuzz and Vigoroth are so perpetually energetic that they simply cannot fall asleep no matter what sleep-inducing techniques are used against them. It's a straightforward ability that doesn't do anything fancy. It just ensures that one particularly annoying status condition will never ruin your day. In competitive play, this provides a niche but valuable immunity to sleep-inducing moves and abilities, allowing these Pokemon to counter dedicated sleep strategies. Outside of battle, it also prevents the Pokemon from generating sleep talk recordings with the Pokédex's habituation feature. The ability rewards insomnia with tactical advantages, which is definitely not how it works in real life. White Smoke. White Smoke is the ability for Pokemon that believe obscurity is the best defense. It prevents other Pokemon from lowering any of the user's stats, creating immunity to moves like Growl, Tail Whip, or Intimidate. Pokemon like Torkoal are constantly surrounded by a thick smoke that obscures their true capabilities, making it impossible for opponents to effectively weaken them through stat reduction. It's essentially statistical integrity in ability form, ensuring that your Pokemon's numbers remain exactly as they should. In competitive play, this provides valuable protection against setup strategies that rely on lowering opponent stats before sweeping. It's like hiding in a smoke cloud so dense that nobody can accurately assess your weaknesses. Not the most direct approach to battle, but surprisingly effective at preventing strategic targeting. The ability creates a reliable stat floor that can be crucial in calculating damage outputs and survival chances in high-level play. Pure Power. Pure Power is literally huge power with a different name. It straight up doubles the Pokemon's attack stat, turning even the Psychic Kitten Meditite into a physical threat. It's not about technique or strategy, it's just raw, overwhelming strength that makes physical attackers hit like they're carrying concrete blocks. Competitively, it transforms otherwise mediocre Pokemon into legitimate threats through sheer multiplicative power. The ability name tries to be slightly more elegant than Huge Power, but the effect is identical, a doubling of attack that requires no conditions, activation, or setup. It's one of the most straightforwardly powerful abilities in the game with no drawbacks or requirements, just a pure unadulterated stat boost that transforms otherwise unremarkable Pokemon into offensive powerhouses. It's the ability equivalent of saying my only strategy is being twice as strong as you thought I was. Shell Armor. Shell Armor is the ability for Pokemon that refuse to acknowledge lucky shots, providing complete immunity to critical hits. Pokemon like Lapras and Turtwig wear their protective shells with pride, never suffering from those annoying moments when damage suddenly doubles for no good reason. It's essentially a defense against chance, ensuring that damage remains consistent rather than occasionally spiking due to random critical hits. While not the flashiest ability, Shell Armor provides valuable reliability in high-stakes battles where a single critical hit might otherwise determine the outcome. It's like wearing a helmet specifically designed to prevent lucky headshots, perhaps not necessary in every situation, but invaluable when facing opponents who rely on chance rather than strategy. The ability creates predictable damage calculations that can be crucial for determining exactly how many hits a defensive Pokemon can take before fainting. Airlock. Airlock is the ability that tells weather not today, thank you, and not tomorrow either. When a Pokemon with Airlock is on the field, all weather effects are neutralized, shutting down the benefits of rain, sun, sandstorms, and hail. Rayquaza, the only Pokemon with this ability, creates a bubble of atmospheric stability that overrides even the most extreme climate manipulation. It's like showing up to a water gun fight with an umbrella, a space heater, and a really good air filter, prepared for any weather-based strategy an opponent might attempt. In competitive play, simply switching in a Pokemon with Airlock can completely dismantle an opponent's weather-based strategy, turning their Kyogre or Groudon into very expensive normal types with no special weather perks. The ability creates a neutral battlefield that prevents either side from gaining weather advantages, essentially forcing a fair fight in what would otherwise be climactically manipulated matchups. And that's every Generation 3 ability explained. These passive traits revolutionized the Pokemon battle system, adding a new strategic layer beyond just types and moves. From simple immunities to complex conditional effects, abilities transformed how trainers approach team building and battle tactics, creating the rich competitive meta we know today.